Little Caesar.
Queen Bee. That's me.
Check it. Yo, I be buying B's, so all my girls be eyeing C's. Coming backstage, dying to get pleased. You got me, I rock the Versace and linen. While you spotting, grinning with a bunch of foxy women. While you speedball with cars, that's the valley. I get clothes custom made from a stylist. Cruise in my Lexus land with no malice. While you walk the street until your feet get callous. Take you on the natural high like a pallet. It be all good, toss your clothes like a salad. When it's all over, put your vote in my ballot. This my diner, I'm Mel and you're Alice. Spend the night in Little C's palace. It be all good as long as you don't act childish. While you standing there with the crisp in your cup. And worst come to worst, keep this on the hush.
I know you see me on the video. I know you heard me on the radio. But you still don't pay me no attention. Listening to what your girlfriends mention. He's a slut, he's a hoe, he's a freak. Got a different girl every day of the week. It's cool, not trying to put a rush on you. I had to let you know that I got a crush.
Yo, what's going on?
Yo, what up, BD? Everything good?
We're live, Brandon D. Right. This is the You Did What podcast with External Gems. Today we got my man, none other than the OG, the Rhythm Fanatic. We're gonna get into a lot of stuff, man. I just seen that Crush on You video. Of course, he produced that. That was back. What year was that, Fanatic?
Oh my gosh, that was somewhere in the 2000s. It was many moons ago. Early 2000s.
That was like 90, 95, 96, 97, somewhere in there.
Was it? Let me check my statistician. I have a crack staff.
Where'd you go? Google it.
Got 12 people in here. Can you get some coffee and some number 2 pencils, please? Yes, you guys over there, just keep it down a little bit. It was a while ago. I think it was in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was many moons ago. Can't even remember. I've done so many, produced so many records over the last few decades. So I don't exactly remember, but it's a great time.
Nah, for sure. So, yo, man.
Oh, it came out in 96, actually.
I told you.
Okay. Well, you got the crack staff then.
You say I got the what?
You got the crack staff over there now.
Yeah, man. But yeah, what was your favorite part about recording? I'm gonna tell you a story. And you, so Ella in New York, and Eli is my uncle who used to be Fanatic's manager at one point. But he said, y'all in New York, y'all recording, or y'all in the studio. Biggie is in the studio. Whole Junior Mafia is in, and rather than blunt, as much weed that they would just stuff in the middle of the table and just light the entire jar on fire, and everybody in the room caught a contact.
That was so long ago. I don't remember. I remember being in there with Biggie. I remember having extensive conversations. At that time, I didn't really know all the members of Junior Mafia. So only one that I remember, there were a lot of people in the room, but the only one I really remember is just being there with Biggie, having long dialogue with Biggie about hip hop. He was a big fan of a lot of the artists from the South. He was a big fan of Entice, who was an artist from North Carolina that we had produced previously. And it was just interesting to me that he even knew about us to some degree in the records that we had produced and some of the artists that we had worked with. But it was just a time where a lot of dialogue going on. with Biggie, a lot of conversation, and just watching him orchestrate, because he was almost like a co-producer at that time, because he had the vision for the record, he had the vision for what the hook should be, he had the vision and the foresight to get Little Kim to do the record, because originally the record was for Little C's. It was like the introduction to his solo career, and he was going to put that record on Kim's album. And when they put the album out, if you notice, the original version just had Little C's on it. But when the album came out, it kind of stalled right at first after the No Time record that Puff had produced for him, that Diddy had produced for her. It didn't really get the numbers that they were hoping. It didn't take off like that. And so DJ started playing Crush on You. And once they started playing Crush on You, Big immediately convinced Kim to go back in the studio and put her verse on it. And it became one of her biggest records ever. And every time she goes on tour, I know, because my royalties go up, because I know she's performing that song, because that's a staple in her set that she has to do that song. And it's just interesting that she wasn't a big fan of that record, and Biggie had the foresight to see how big this record would be for her career.
She goes on tour, your royalties go up.
Every time. I can tell when she's on the road. And then when she does these tributes and these specials and things like that, she's performing Crush on You. And the record is just taking a life of its own, because I see so many artists rapping out, freestyling and doing records to that beat. I see so many people sampling it. From Mariah Carey sampled it. The King Combs record with Kodak Black, the big hit, they sampled it. So it's just really great to see that record had a whole life after Crush on You, where people are discovering it, people are rediscovering it. So just a really great time. I found that record at a record store, Jeff Lober Fusion. At the time, we were sampling a lot of jazz records, because the Tribe was big, Tribe Called Quest was big. They were sampling a lot of jazz records, and I found that record. And then when I took it back to this one-bedroom apartment that Eli and I shared in Greensboro, Eli would take the back room. I was set up in the den, and just making that beat in my house in this one-bedroom apartment. And now that record is celebrated, played all over the world, and it started there. So crazy.
Yo, so another joint that you produced that was crazy at the time was the Mace record. And I didn't know you produced the Mace record until we started preparing for these interviews.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna jump into that record real quick. We're gonna cut to that record. Let's play the video. Let's play the Mace video real quick.
Okay.
Mace, what makes you think you're such a good rapper?
See, the difference with me, when I do what I do what I'm doing, but I'm doing it like I'm doing it for TV. Ow. Keep your hands up. What? Put your hands up. Come on. Keep your hands up. We back. Put your hands up. We back again. Keep your hands up. We back. I remember the days I prayed my chest be right. Louis the 13 on my kryptonite. Goal on me is like Superman and kryptonite. So I pray I don't miss my flight. Switch tonight. Get out the plane, it all looks strange. See a man from Spain holding up my name. Give my things and head down the back claiming. I hit somebody scream my name. So I look back, look once, look twice, look fast, look left, look right, look blink, look mean, or look nice. They tried to tell me, honey, don't look right. So I approached her, it all looked kosher. But there was kids running up with posters, and I was trying to lose sight of chauffeur. So I had to say, nice to know you, get ready. Baby, tonight, what. Make this a night to remember. Get ready, get money all over again. Get money all over again. Come on, it's all out. Yo, it just so happened, this how Mace stay start. Flip 2 aces and get 2 face cards. It happens, chip stacking. I turn around, see a bunch of chicks clapping. But a girl walked by, caught my eye. So I said, what the f***, stand here and give me luck. And she whispered in my...
So, yo. So you told me an interesting story about that record, man. You said that, so this record is supposed to be like Mace's 3rd single. No, Mace's first single off his second album.
Yes.
And they prepared to put like the major bag behind this record. Everybody's going crazy. And then right before it drops, no, it did drop, but Mace quits rapping in the middle of the promotion for the record.
I was actually quit at the beginning of it. I saw Mace on a Friday, and we were mixing the record, and Mace was like excited. He was confident. He was talking about, yo, this young man, I'm the greatest MC in the world. He was on cloud 9 in a very celebratory state. And he was like, yo, I'm going to shoot the video in LA. I'll be back on Monday. And they put the single out. I think they put the single out immediately after he left that day. I think they went to Funk Flex that night and were playing the record on the radio. And he comes back on Monday. And as I'm going into Bad Boy, into Daddy's house, he's coming out. And he's just like, I'm like, yo, how'd the video go? And he was like, you know, F this. And he was like heated. He's like, I quit. And I was like, what is he talking about? And so I go up in there and I find out that at that point he retired, which was, you know, really traumatic for me because as a producer, I had been producing a lot of different artists and I was always getting the album cut. You know, having one of the best songs on the album, but I would always get the album cut because there were producers that had a bigger name than myself that would always get, you know, the singles. So this is my first time I'm getting the first single. Mace is just coming off of selling 3-4 million records. I'm getting the first single. Blackstreet is on the record. Teddy Riley. Blackstreet was really hot at that time. So the record is poised at radio to like do really big numbers. And he quit right in the middle of it. Not in the middle, like as soon as they put the record out, he quit doing promotion for the record. So they stopped pushing the record. And that was the end of it. That was really the last time. It was the end of his career right there, really, because he never really bounced back from that moment.
That's wild. You ever see him again after that?
It's so funny. He's working now, and I just produced a record for him right now. So
you just produced a record for Mace.
That's right now, and it's so crazy that it comes back full circle that I did the record for him as he was retiring, and now I'm doing the record on him as he's re-entering the business for his comeback. And so it's just shows you how God works and how things come back full circle. That, you know, I'm connected with him, and it's a really, really dope record that we just worked on. So, you know, interesting, very interesting how life works.
So you said the record is dope?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're not just saying that because you got paid?
No, definitely not saying that, because what I got paid to do that record and what I got paid to do this record is night and day. So it definitely is not about the money, you know. But for me, I've always been very fortunate to produce records on a lot of artists at a very important time in their career, whether it was doing the Crush on You record where Kim was coming out of Junior Mafia, and this was like her introduction as a solo artist, whether it was producing Beyonce as she's coming out of Destiny's Child into being a solo artist, Michael Jackson, producing him at the time where he hadn't put out music in 10 years, and this was the first time he was coming back out and really trying to reestablish himself, and the same thing with Mace. So it's just really interesting how my career has worked, where I have been a part of a very important time in all these iconic artists and their career. So just really interesting.
Nah, that's dope, man. Let me ask you this, man. Where do you get your style from, man? Because you rock, like, you the only person I see that rock some of the stuff that you rock. Like, where are you coming up with this style and the creativity that, you know, that you add to your wardrobe? Where's that coming from?
Just being influenced by the culture and influenced by the people around me. Just exercising my freedom to dress how you know, I study a lot of fashion from the 70s to 80s. I do a lot of thrifting, and just surrounding myself with people that are in that same place that, you know, they just push you to exercise your creative expression. So my creative expression doesn't end with my music. It also comes into my fashion. It's all a part of everything that I do, from the car I drive to the clothes I wear to the music I make. I'm just all about expressing myself and whatever makes me feel good. It makes me feel confident. And I just think fashion and music are always synonymous. The women do it all the time. You see a lot of the women, you know, pushing the limits of fashion and being very creative in what they dress and what they wear. And we haven't seen the men until now do that. And now, you know, we're in this space now where we're expressing ourselves through fashion. And I just think that fashion and music have always been synonymous. So I study Prince, I study Jimi Hendrix, I study, you know, even women's fashion. I'm studying everything. As long as it makes you feel good, makes you feel sexy, and makes you feel confident, you should rock that shit.
And it's crazy because like I've been in rooms with you, and like everybody in the room, when you walk in, just turn like, who is this dude? Like, so
And
it's
that's an evolution too, because I wasn't like that in North Carolina. You know, I wasn't expressing myself that like that in North Carolina. But it's moving to New York and being influenced by the fashion in New York City and the culture and the people and all the ethnicities and all that stuff. Just really being influenced by that. New York City was a big change for me, and just really expressing myself through my fashion. And hip hop started in hip hop, and then they evolved into rock and roll and all these different things. That New York was a really big influence on my fashion.
yeah, yeah. So this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think that a lot of people realize how influential North Carolina has been, not just to hip hop, but to music as a whole.
Mhm.
Can you speak about some of the things that you may know about North Carolina producers and writers and artists that other people may not know? Just like some interesting facts that people may not have known or heard of.
Well, I can speak about the crew that I came with and the circle that I was associated with. I know that we were very influential in a lot of artists' careers very early on. Like I said, I did the Crush on You record for Little Kim. Partner of mine that started off in the same group with me, Ski Beats. He produced Jay-Z's Dead Presidents, which was, you know, a huge introduction to Jay-Z and his music. Uh, Mark Sparks produced Shoot for Salt and Pepper. Mike City was big with the Sunshine Anderson record. We have Ninth Wonder that's produced a bunch of hip hop for a lot of artists as well. Um, we just were like very early on. We weren't just relegated to producing music that sounded like it was coming from our region. We really studied a lot of the hip hop that was coming out of New York City, and we were I was mentored by Biz Markie and DJ Clark Kent, and a couple of other ski was mentored by Clark Kent as well, and just really it also being mentored by Vincent Herbert and Puffy. When you have an Omar Rambert, when you're having all these different people that you're interacting with, and they're basically sharing information with you on the music, it allows you to, you know, become a better producer because and a songwriter and all these different things because they're giving you jewels and information that you can apply to your craft. But it's just amazing when you look back at the history of North Carolina and you look at Jodeci and the Dream and all these different people that came from North Carolina. They made huge contributions to the hip hop culture and very classic moments in hip hop that will always be talked about from here on forever. You know, we were a movement, but we just didn't stick together so that we could be recognized as a whole. And Tice did one of the very first records that blew up for RZA. Method Man was on her record, one of the first guest appearances that he had done. So we had our foot like firmly in hip hop at a time when it was really exploding to become very global music.
Nice. Um, so like being one of the OGs, like you was there, you know, y'all kind of seen the birth of it to where it is now. Like, how do you feel about the current state? Like, you know, when you, I know because like a lot of the cats that's been in it for a long time, like they like salty. Like a lot of them are bitter towards what they seeing going on now. Like, what is your viewpoint of what you see where the hip hop music is?
Well, for me, I just try to understand it more than I'm, you know, I don't feel course, it's not the essence of what it was when I was in it or before when I got in it. It's not the same thing. It's not based on the same thing. But of course, when capitalism and all these things get involved with it, it changes the dynamics of the music. So it doesn't feel the same. The agenda is not the same. When we were doing it, we never really thought about ourselves becoming filthy rich from it and being, you know, multimillionaires from it. It was more out of just expression and being able to express yourself through music and being able to go out and play the shows and people feel the music, something that you created in your bedroom. They get to feel it in front of a big crowd and they're into it and seeing what the reaction is, or going out and hearing it in the clubs and seeing people play, DJs play it and people dance to it and react to it. I can remember so many nights where I'm in the club and they're playing Crush on You or one of the Busy Boy records, and nobody in the club knows that I produced that record, and just seeing them move to it and react to it is like a great feeling. So I don't never really, and a lot of my music is being rediscovered and resampled. Somebody just sampled Beyonce's Speechless the other day. You know, the Crush on You record is being sampled. So
Who was it? Who was the artist that sampled Speechless?
it's Ro James, who signed to
Oh,
RC.
word.
He just sampled the record. And so it just I don't feel bitter about it. I just know, like, I mean, you can look at like Aretha Franklin to, you know, some of the singers that came after her. I mean, Beyonce is great, but, you know, Aretha Franklin was something different. You know, Beyonce was great. The next singer that comes along won't be as great as her, but for what is the time and what is going on, it's always going to be down a different level as you go through, because it's been simplified. The craft and the art of the music and MCing and all those things have been simplified as it becomes more popular. And as you go through each generation, it becomes more simplified. So that's just naturally what happens to music. So somebody in the late in 2023 is not going to be as great as Nas in his moment in the 90s, or Jay-Z in their moment in the 90s, or Biggie or Tupac in their moment. You know, it's not going to be the same thing. But I just try to understand it. I try to appreciate it, because for me as a producer and a recording artist, anybody that can take something out of their head and turn it into something and make people feel it is an amazing feat, and not everybody can do it. So I respect all those artists that can do that. And I try to find something to appreciate in what they're doing. So I'm not bitter about it. I understand it. I even try to get involved and create music that they can and try to step up their game, whether it's producing them or giving them advice to try to be a better artist. I think I went through everything that I went through in the music business so that I have a testimonial and I have something to share with the next generation so that they can be better at what they do.
For sure. For sure. So you've been on the move for a long time, man. I know you done traveled the world. What is your favorite location to post up and do music
LA is cool because it gives you a vibe and everything, but there's nothing like New York City. Being in New York City in the late 90s, when hip hop was just on fire, like you could just feel it. You could feel the pulse of hip hop in the city, whether it's Funkmaster Flex, whether it's going to these industry parties. There were so many camps in New York City, from Rough Riders to Murder Inc. to Rockefeller to Bad Boy. Like, there were so many camps in New York City just making hip hop at that time. And there was so many big producers and recording artists coming out of there. New York was just a great time where fashion and music and the culture was so huge there that New York is probably my favorite city. It's nothing like that now, but during that time, it was a great time to be in New York City and a great time to be a part of the culture of hip hop as it was exploding.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said when y'all was doing it, like the goal wasn't really to become millionaires off of it, right?
No,
So it was more so like, yo, if we can do this and not work a job, then we good.
Yeah, definitely. That was the mission. I mean, we would see Biz Markie and Big Daddy Kane come down there with the gold chains and the clothes and the fashion and the cars. But we never really looked at them like they were just filthy rich. We just looked at them like they were making enough money to get to the next record and not have to work a job. And that's really what our thing is, like just staying on the road. I don't think we may have been making $100 a piece doing shows back then, but it was just more about rubbing shoulders with all of these big time rappers like Kane and Rakim and Dana Dane and Salt and Pepper and Biz Markie, and being respected by them and appreciated by them because they had never seen artists from the South that sounded like them or could compete with them. And so that was just our biggest thing. It all started with Mixmaster D. He introduced me to hip hop. And, you know, if it wasn't for him, I think a lot of us that came from North Carolina or came from Greensboro wouldn't have went on to do what we did, because he was always the epicenter of where hip hop existed in Greensboro. At his house, he had all the records, he had all the equipment. We recorded there, we rehearsed there, we put everything together there. Anybody that was an MC in Greensboro or a producer or something came through his studio and spent time in the studio with him working at his house. And so it was just something that we just did, that we just loved. It was the hip hop posse. We would meet out at, you know, the skate station or any of these places, and we would all just be doing hip hop and so immersed in the culture. So we never really thought of it as something that we were going to be filthy rich behind, but it was just something that we just loved to do and loved to express ourselves through.
Gotcha. So, yo, I found a joint in the stash, man, a video that we're going to cut to, and we're going to play a little piece of it, and I want to see your genuine reaction, man.
Which video is this?
Hey, you just got to watch. Look at the screen, man. Look at the screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Now that was a official video, man.
Yeah. That was
like that was like real deal. Had a budget, had extras. Like it was grip people, lighting people. Like that was a real deal, full blown video. What year was that, man?
I don't even remember, but you know what's so crazy about it is, like, at that time we had moved back from New York, and I had went from producing Omniscience and a couple of other artists, and that was my first time actually being the artist, like being the front man in a group. I had a ghostwriter. Omniscience was writing the rhymes. He was on fire, so we were spitting it. I had Billie DeVour in the group. I had T-Love DJing. We were signed to Ultimax, who had a recording studio. They had a pressing plant. They had a film production team. So it was like everything that you needed to basically put your music together. I remember DeVour and I used to just be in the studio 24 hours a day working on music throughout the night. And it was just a great time. And we had so many resources to do our thing that's all we did, is just make music every single day. We got offered a deal by Pendulum Records, and the record blew up, and Pendulum wanted to sign us. But at the time, the executive producer of the label, Brad Hinkle, wasn't very well versed in how the business worked. So he was like, I think they offered us like $10,000 for the single, and they were going to distribute it. And, you know, they were a major label at that time. In hindsight, we should have took the deal, but of course they didn't know. They thought, you know, we're supposed to be getting millions of dollars for this record. And so they turned the deal down, and they were just like, Pendulum Records, they got millions of dollars. They're not going to offer us no little measly $10,000. And it was probably a huge mistake that we made. And they should have we should have done the deal, and we would have, you know, the story would have ended differently. But I take all those things as learning experiences and lessons and things like that. And for me, which I'm in the artist mode now, had the Busy Boys blown up and we got signed, had Pendulum happen, had This happen, had so many other situations happened, I probably would have burned and crashed, and I wouldn't have been as prepared as I am now to actually really be in the music business, because now I've had enough experiences. I know the ins and outs. I know what's a good deal, what's a bad deal. I know that getting signed, what most people think is the most difficult part, is really the most easy part with it. It's getting them to put the record out, getting them, the label, to believe in you, and everybody at the label to believe in you and put the money behind the record is the hardest part of the whole thing. So, you know, a lot of people just have that misconception and they think getting the deal is the end all be all, but to get everybody behind the record, and you've experienced that. You've experienced, like, you know, a situation where it's like, you can get people interested in the record. Can you get them to put up the money to put that record out and flood it across the world and market and promote it is the challenge.
Yeah. If you had some gems for an independent artist right now that was starting from zero, like 3 pieces of knowledge, what would those be?
Well, the first thing I would say is get your own piece of equipment and learn to record yourself. That's really the only way you're going to really discover yourself as an artist. Trying to go in the studio and pay for studio time and rely on other producers, rely on engineers, and being able to get in the studio, you're not going to reach your destination faster than when you have your own piece of equipment. You're recording and writing and producing yourself, and you're developing as an artist, and you're finding out your direction musically, and you're finding out your style and what you do best consistently, so that when you're making your music, you're making a piece of work where you got 4 and 5 records that they all feel like they have your signature all over them. So it sounds like your style of music and what you're putting out there and your direction. But it's hard to do that if you don't have your own equipment. You want to be able to create where you're not on the clock. You're not paying for studio time. You can get up and go in the next room. Like I recorded I would say my demo for the Billie Lennox project during the pandemic, where we weren't leaving the house. I was just waking up every day, making music till it was time to go to sleep, and getting up the next day and doing it again. And you start getting into this place of repetition where you're doing your best work and you're discovering what really works for you. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is really study the business and understand what you're getting into. Understand publishing, understand contracts, understand licensing. All these different things that you need to know. Like, don't just rely on getting a lawyer or just hiring a lawyer when the deal comes. Know what the deal is yourself. Read contracts, understand the business of it and how that whole thing works. Understand royalties and all of that. Like, all that information is on the internet. People are always sharing it on Instagram. So study the business so you know what you're getting into, so you know what to expect. And the last thing that I would say is just like, whatever you do, do not quit. Do not stop. Do not quit, especially when you have an ounce of validation or success. Don't ever stop doing what you're doing, because especially if you're doing something different. Me as an artist now, I'm doing rock music. And there aren't many, if any, Black artists that are doing rock music other than maybe Gary Clark Jr. But like, when you're doing something different that not a lot of people are doing, it's going to take a little bit longer for people to really catch on to what it is that you're doing, because it's so different than everybody else. But don't give up, because if you look through history and you look at the artists that were trailblazers and doing something different than everybody else, it took a long time to happen. But when it happened in such a big way. When you look at Outkast and how long it took them to really get respect and really for them to have their moment, they went through 4 or 5 albums before they got to the Love Below and Speaker Box and sold 10 million records. So, you know, it takes time. And if you look at and you talk to these artists, you'll find that what you're seeing is just the last couple of years of them reaching their destination and blowing up. There's another 6, 7, 8 years to come before that where they were really struggling and really trying to find themselves and get the opportunity. So this thing doesn't happen overnight. There's no such thing as overnight success. even with these artists that are going viral, there's a history before that where they were working nonstop and very relentless. So just stay hungry, don't quit, endure the ups and downs of the music business, and just keep going because they only last a second. Because if you look at your Rolodex, look through your phone at all of the people that you've come in contact with. Look at your IG, look at your phone, and think about the people that you knew 6 months ago and look at the people that you know now. And you'll see you're always running into somebody. You're always meeting somebody that can change the trajectory of your career. So just never stop. And if you get down and it's not happening fast enough, what I do and what's always kept me afloat is I always never forget my passion for being able to create and understanding my purpose as a creator. We're all vessels here. God sends us music through us to touch people and make people feel something. And that's the greatest gift and the biggest obligation you can ever have as an artist and a producer and a songwriter is you're one of the chosen ones that gets to, you have this gift to express yourself and make people feel something, and that can change the world. And I don't take that lightly. So anytime I'm feeling down, I get excited about being able to have something come through me and be able to create it and people to feel something and getting excited about the creative process of and the challenge of it coming from your head and turning it into song and it feels right and it comes out. So never lose your passion for being able to create music. That should never, the business is going to go up and down, but your ability to create and make people feel something, and that will never leave you once you have that gift and you discover it.
For sure, man. For sure. Did you really miss a Lakers game to be with us tonight, man?
I did. I did. But, this is more important. Like you've always been there for me uh, countless times throughout my life and my career. And so our conversations, I could not talk to you for months. And the second that we get on the phone and have a conversation, I see you're going through period in your life where wisdom is now like just constantly coming to you. So being able to help you through that processing that wisdom through our conversations, you helping me to do the same thing is important to me, and I value that. So the Lakers will always be there. So it's more important that I help you in the next phase of your journey, just as you've helped me. The different periods of my career as I'm going to the next.
Nah, I appreciate it, man. And nobody would know this, but like this is our third time recording this interview, man. We had some technical difficulties, and this man has just
Man,
been gracious and say, hey, man, if you need me, I'm there, man. So I really appreciate it. Appreciate you looking
man.
out. Appreciate you checking in. I appreciate your contributions to hip hop as a whole, North Carolina, definitely Greensboro, and just what you've done, what you continue to do, man. And anything else you want to say to the people, man?
Just look out for Billie Lennox. We got records out. Go on to my IG, Fanatic, aka Billie Lennox. Follow me. Watch the new video is out. It's very provocative. Just get into my music. Leave a comment. Make sure you share. We have to all support each other. You support me, I support you. Share my music. Comment on my music. I'll do the same for you, especially when you see somebody that has something unique to share with the industry that changes the sound and the direction of music and gives us people of color an opportunity to create in a different space than they've segregated us to. Like always support those artists and I help them get to their destination because they only open the door for you to do something outside of the box and something avant-garde. So I just say support each other. You support me, I'll support you. Follow me, I'll follow you, and let's do this together, man. We've turned black music into this $1 billion business. They've made money off of the past, but now it's so many artists, it's so much money being made. We all need each other. We all need to get respect as artists of color. So we all have to stick together and show them how amazing we are as a collective. And I think we'll reach our destination in the end of integrity, respect, and amazing music that they've never seen before.
For sure, man. And me and Eli been talking a lot too, man. We're working on some things in regards to a lot of the accomplishments y'all pulled together. We got
Yeah.
some nice stuff going on behind the scenes.
Man, I appreciate all my family from North Carolina. You guys have been a part of my career from day one, and I always look forward to reconnecting with you guys from time to time and see what you guys are working on, how I can help, and vice versa. We're very powerful as a group. We've all experienced the music business at the highest level. There was a time when it was unheard of where people were coming from North Carolina and venturing out into the world and making things happen. And we were one of the first ones to do it. And we see so many of us now from that area going on to do great things and become incredible artists and contributing to the culture. So we have to, at some point all connect and show as a whole what we have to offer this industry. So I always look forward to that conversation and interacting with anybody from the North Carolina area and what we can do together.
For sure, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. And this is the 3rd episode of the You Did What podcast, where exceptional people drop exceptional gems. Fanatic, Billie, Lennox, glad to have you, man.
No doubt. Take care. Best of luck with the podcast. Everybody tune in. All right.
All right. Peace, man.
You did what? You did what? You did what? You did what?